What I'm going to be talking about is an NCHRP project which is completed. It's been finished since almost about a year now, but it did start quite a few years ago. Pete mentioned it just a minute ago. This was a collaborative effort between myself, my colleague Dennis Mertz, who passed away last year, and Pete Wykamp with GPI. So this project, the statement originated out of the SCOM Bridge Technical Working Group a number of years ago, and that got pushed forward. It ultimately got issued as an NCHRP project. We were lucky enough to win the project, and it's now completed. But as you can see, it has to do with basically, the project was to develop guidelines for maintenance, repair, and replacement of small movement bridge joints. That was the effort. And just to kind of give a little bit of backstory to it, I've been involved with the partnership for, I think, going on six years now. And the Northeast Partnership had been talking about the performance of small movement joints. And there was interest within the partnership of doing a small research project looking at how small movement joints had performed in the Northeast. And so the partnership actually funded a very small project at the University of Delaware to look at just the performance of the joints in the Northeast. So we did that. I had a student work on that for about 6 or 8 months. That resulted in a report which has been available and is available on the TSP2 website. If you look under technical and you look under deck and joints, you'll see that report there. That was pretty much a literature survey and a survey of the states, but gathering information about current performance of small movement joints. And that really, I think, served as a great foundation and really allowed us to win this larger project. I know it was an open competition, it was very competitive, and I know some other good institutions competed for it, but we were lucky enough to get it. But just wanted to kind of add that in, that I do think that helped, and the partnership really set us up to win this larger effort, which looked at the performance of joints all across the country and resulted in these guidelines. So the final product of this, the whole project, is actually is 2 reports. I have 1 copy of them right here. There's one which is really kind of the first part, final report of the whole project, which includes more than just the guidelines. And then the second part, we decided to do this in a 2-part product. The second part is actually the draft guidelines that we developed. And these 2 documents are available today. They're available on the NCH, or rather the TRB website, so you can, they're free. You can go out there and download them yourself. I'll show you at the very end of the brief presentation where to get them, but you can download these today and see them. As I said, the project, the problem statement originated out of the SCOM Bridge Technical Working Group. The result, or the report, has basically been passed on now, or passed back to them, and the hope is that the SCOM through Jeff Milton and his efforts will, I think their hope is that this will actually, the guideline will actually get published as an AASHTO publication, so it will be available, and I mean, they will begin charging for it, but it will actually be an AASHTO document. So we did make a presentation. Some of you may have been there. We made a presentation at the SCOM meeting in July, and so now kind of the ball's in their court to take it the next step and hopefully get it published as an official AASHTO publication. But as I said, it's in its current form, it's available, it's free. I don't know whether the SCOM will themselves now go through a review and edit step. They may, I don't know. I haven't talked to Jeff about that, but that might be what happens next. The purpose of the project was to develop guidelines with commentary presented in form suitable for AASHTO consideration. We had a whole range of different tasks. Started with a literature review and a survey. We did create a survey that went out all across the country. We surveyed owners, consultants, vendors, and contractors, all 4 groups of those stakeholders in this survey. We got a pretty good return on those surveys. And then we had an interim report to do, and then finally the last part was to develop the final guidelines. Just to say, really, there isn't a lot of information out there on small movement joints. There wasn't, and there really isn't too much out there today. Frankly, to be honest with you, as a researcher, as an academic, small movement joints just aren't terribly sexy and snazzy, and not a lot of money has been thrown at them over the years. It was nice to see this project, and I hope going forward there is some more work done in this area. We gathered information from the states, getting their design manuals, their maintenance manuals, gathered a pretty good, fair number of them. As I said, we did the stakeholder survey. We asked a lot of questions about performance, types of joints owners were using, how well they performed. This is just one of the graphics. If you want to see some more of the details of these results, those are all in this Part 1 report. So if you want to see, again, it was a nationwide survey. You want to see more details about what types of joints are being used most often and how well they're performing, that's where you could find that. We were asking information about service life for different joints and types of joints that people are using. We also asked about modes of failure because we had to include that in the guidelines. But now to get to the draft guidelines. And so this is the second document, which is the one that hopefully will be published by AASHTO, either in this form or perhaps in a slightly revised form if the SCOM decides to go ahead and review and do some editing. But this is the table of contents. We go through types of joints, modes of failure, evaluating joints, calculating joint movement and sizing the seal, selecting a replacement joint, preparing the header. Let me say, throughout the whole project, we had an awful lot of feedback and communication with all of these stakeholders. We got a lot of information from the owners. We got a lot of information from the vendors. When we had a solid draft of the document ready to go, we turned it back out to stakeholders, and we got specific feedback from the vendors and from the owners, and so that all ended up in the final product. So we feel like we did a pretty good job of listening to all of the stakeholders as we developed this. The last 6 sections, there's a pretty detailed description of how to replace, repair, or maintain the different types of joints. Section 7 goes into just headers, and then from 8 through 12 is pretty detailed step-by-step procedure for replacement, repair, and maintenance. Types of joints, we classified these into the 5 general classes. In each one of these, we have pretty decent schematics, and it's interesting. We have a lot of pictures in here, and it's pretty easy to find good pictures of damaged and joints that have failed, but it's surprisingly not so easy to find good pictures of brand new joints. Like, most people have a lot of the pictures that aren't so pretty, but not too many of them when they've just been put in. But so we do have, did the best we could there. Modes of failure, descriptions and pictures. Evaluating joints, we proposed a method where we're linked to the AASHTO Manual for bridge element inspection and condition states. A section on calculating joint movements and sizing the seal. As I said, we gathered a lot of information from owners from all across the country, whether these were design manuals, maintenance manuals, detail sheets. There was a pretty good amount of information, but when you gather it all up and you look at it, you realize it's all over the board. It's in different formats. It's presented differently, different terminology. It's kind of all across the board. So we did our best to take best practices, incorporate them into the guideline, and present it in a consistent and coherent manner. Sizing the joints, you'll see a section in that. Calculating, max compression and tension and shear in a joint. Selecting a replacement joint, this is where we had to look into performance metrics, and you'll see a table in there which addresses that. Let me also say that the NCHRP review panel, which guided the whole project, there were 8 members on that panel. 7 of them were from the states. There was 1 academic on the panel, and from all across the country. So the 7 from the states, they represented design, maintenance, operation, all the areas that would be relevant for looking at joints. One thing that they wanted us to include in the document was, all right, suppose I have a strip seal and I want to replace it, but somebody says, well, why don't you put a plug joint in there? Well, what's going to be involved in going from a strip seal to a plug joint? How hard is it going to be? What's going to be involved? So you'll see kind of a big matrix. It actually flows over about 3 pages, but it takes all the classes of joints and says, okay, if you want to replace this joint with this type of joint, what are you going to be facing? Not in tremendous detail, but just a short description of the kind of things you'd have to do to make that change. Then we get into these detailed sections about how you do these operations, and they're full of pictures. Pete mentioned these and showed some in his presentation, which I think are tremendous, and it's been a nice part of the whole product. But step-by-step procedures along with pictures at the end there. And then for each of the major 5 classes of joints, you go into this replacement, repair, maintenance, and all the detailed steps. And these do go into fair detail. There's a lot of textual description of the various steps, and then at the end there's a lot of pictures. And so here's, I think, some of the same ones that Pete showed in his, but just for the asphalt plug joint. Nice pictures that show the step. Unfortunately, it would have been really nice to be able to go out for all the types of joints at one, on a site and take photographs from start to finish. We weren't able to do that, but we did from various sources, many of them coming from Pete, from his archives, pulling together these good pictures that show the steps for all the different types of joints. So you'll see that. As I said, the project, it was completed almost just about a year ago. At that point, the reports were submitted to NCHRP. But today, so you can get these if you just go to the TRB website, just trb.org. The easiest way to find them is when you get there is just, there's a menu that says projects. Just click on the projects link. When that drops down, you can put in the project number, which was 12-100. So put in 12-100, that'll come up with the project. You hit the link there, and then you'll see the links to the 2 PDFs at the bottom there, and they're already there for you to download free of charge. As I said, the AASHTO SCOM Bridge Technical Working Group through Jeff Milton is moving to get this published by AASHTO, and so hopefully that'll happen soon. And yeah, just acknowledge all those who helped. And I imagine many of you took the survey, so thanks for doing that. But all the various stakeholders, the Academy, NCHRP, the project manager, et cetera, all those people.
Tripp, I know we've been promoting trying to develop new testing methods for joints. Yeah. And that is going to be a possible implementation project?
That's
extension?
Yeah, glad you reminded me of that. Other thing that came out through the whole project was really 2 things. Is that one, we see that there's no consensus today on the different types of material tests that need to be done for various joints and joint systems, and there's no standard protocols for how you go about testing a joint system. There was some discussion about this yesterday in the joints meeting. New York State has done it. I don't believe from our survey results, they don't show that many other states do tests of systems, and there's no standard protocols. And so that's That was a research statement that was drafted, presented to SCOM. I don't know where it stood. I don't think it made it to the top of the list, but
Which one? The,
testing.
actually,
out
that
of
one,
And-
did make, well, I don't
Anyway,
know, I don't know where
so-
SCOM made it, but certainly the bridge, working group
Yeah.
made that a very high priority, yeah.
So that's another area where we see that there is work still to be done, and hopefully maybe one day that will also come out as an NCHRP project, so.
The preceding video was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found at tsp2.org. That's tsp2.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.